Emil And Dan to you. It's the new year, 2026. I'm still in my closet. We built a new 2026 closet. No, we didn't really. But here we are. Here we are because I said I wasn't going to. I was going to just replace that. No, it's the new year. We got to start it out right, and I'm inspired by Zoran Mamdani. I mean, I think a year ago, I was in New York. I didn't know who he was. He was campaigning. I said, who is this guy? They said, do you know about Zoran? Zoran, I'm in a play. Don't have time to get into New York politics. And now a year later, I'm watching on January 1st thinking, this is not just a Zoran moment. It is potentially an Obama moment. I'll explain. But first, hey, Emil And Dan 69 is the name of my my show that I do. I've been touring it in Canada last year. It's revised. It always changes because the news changes. It's about how I deal with my TDS, my Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah. And it's a good show. Got good reviews in Canada. I started out in Fresno. I did it in San Francisco last November, a couple weeks ago, and now I'm doing it at the Solo Fest. Playground SF does a Solo Fest, and I'm doing the show. Go to playgroundsf.vb, VBO tickets, playgroundsf.vbotickets.com, and look for 69 Emil And Dan, a real journalist stands up, because that's what I'm not doing stand up, but I am standing. And I'm just telling the truth. I'm a news guy who tells the truth. I mean, is that bad? Is that bad? So check it out. It's the shows are January 17th at 7 p.m., January 26th at 8:30 p.m., February 2nd, 8:30 p.m., and February 7th at 2:30 p.m. 69 Emil And Dan, written and performed by me. Manhattan Digest said comical, often profound observations about just how I generally do things. And the tickets are, here's the thing, the tickets are by donation. You can write off the tickets. And, you could donate $1, donate $30, donate $100, maybe $100,000. Just do it in dollars, not pesos. No, actually, go to playground-sf.org/solofest for tickets and check it out. 69 Emil And Dan, how I deal with my Trump derangement syndrome. There it is. It's scrolling across. You can see it. January 17th at 7 p.m., the 26th at 8:30, the 2nd at 8:30 p.m., and February 7th, 2:30 p.m. So all these different times, because it's part of a big festival of lots of different shows. Catch it, Playground SF, good organization. The Solo Fest, 69 Emil And Dan. And now we go into the first show of our year, January 2nd. We'll be repeating this somewhat throughout because, I don't know, did you see Zoran Mamdani, the inaugural address? He was live on the screen of your choice. I saw it on C-SPAN. If you saw him, and you maybe got a sense of, because he won the election, he was talked at the Oval Office with Trump a couple weeks ago. Maybe you have some sense of it about him, but this was special, right? Because he's the first South Asian, the first Asian American, the first Muslim, the first African-born, first Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City. That's a lot of firsts for January 1st, 2026. But I saw him as Filipino American. I'm Filipino. I related to, I saw him. I thought he was speaking, if you're Filipino American, I thought he was speaking our language. I mean, you might say, come on, Emil, what are you smoking? But I really felt when you do a side-by-side comparison between what Trump said yesterday, talking about thick blood, he wanted thin blood, that's why he was overdosing on aspirin, This is the guy who said, inject Lysol to fight COVID, right? I mean, compare that with what Zoran Mondani was saying in New York, and it's like, I don't know who gets you excited. I think Zoran Mamdani, for me, it was an Obama moment, and I just so that I'm not getting too far off the deep end or getting too excited about this kind of thing, I go to my friend Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Professor Emeritus, Asian American Studies, Political Science, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University. Hello, Daniel. Oop, oop, oop. We got to get. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Is it still more? Yes, it is. Barely.
Yes. So, first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Manigong baong tag bagong taon.
Baon, yeah.
I wasn't. Not
I wasn't.
Bagong.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going to bother you and say let's do a show, but I was so excited by Zoran Mamdani. I said we got to do this show. We got to at least say, look, the mainstream isn't going to talk about it that much today, but because it was all the news yesterday, and I just think I got kind of excited that Zoran Mamdani was the future of America.
Yeah, I'm glad you got excited because at your age, as well as mine.
Well, thank you.
Anything that gets you a chubby is quite welcome.
Okay. Politically, I was chubbed up. You were
chubbed up. You got a little excitement going.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, look, he's talking our language. I said he's the first South Asian, first Muslim, first Indian, but I saw him as going beyond identity politics. I saw him as really talking like a Filipino American. You know, if you don't have to live in New York, you don't have to live in San Francisco or Daly City. You know what it's like to live in areas that are being priced out, being revitalized, and people are saying, hey, after you built the city, after you staffed the hospitals, after you worked hard, and someone tells you you can't stay here, you got to move. I know what that's like. I know a lot of Filipinos do. So, I mean, all right, literally he's not Filipino, but he knows how to speak to us, and he knows and empathizes with our pain.
I think he is more empathetic. You know, that relationship is a two-way street. You have respect and admiration for him because you know that he would respect, if not admire, because he didn't know you well enough, but he might. Yeah. Okay, but he would respect also your point of view, as long as it is a somewhat logical point of view. Remember, we always have to take into consideration those people whose logic is absolutely framed in an antagonistic, right, philosophical, if you want to call it philosophy, right? Yeah. But it's not really well thought out. Their belief system, whatever that belief system might be, very negative. Okay, so you can't do that. So he would be respectful of you, and that's one good reason to be respectful of him. Okay?
Well, that really sort of, all right, that's at the beginning. You bring up respect. I don't know if I talk to the other guy who's in charge right now with the entire government, if there would be much
Stephen Miller, because he's really the guy that's in charge.
Well, he's in charge of the immigration, but that shows you how little the commander-in-chief knows.
You're selling him short, although he is short. You're selling him short, okay? He's
Stephen
in charge
Miller?
of everything. He is in charge of everything. He is stronger within that West Wing than Bannon ever was.
All right, so you're saying beyond immigration?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I saw him sort of limited to immigration, but as an advisor, I would imagine there's a lot of spillover. But as you know, I've worked for politicians, and they are so busy being essentially the figurehead or the hood ornament of the car, right? That they don't know. Don't ask them about what's going on, in the. Don't ask them what's going on under the hood.
You're supporting my point. You're supporting.
They really know. Oh yeah.
There's two people that are more important than the president of the United States right now. One of them is Stephen Miller, and the other one is Russell Vought. That's it.
Oh yeah.
between those two guys, you got exactly what's going on throughout the country, that many people are now rising up, not only in criticism, but in open revolt. Not only in demonstrations, but now they're starting to plan how they can actually mount political and legal resistance. It's
Yeah.
about time. It's
Well,
about
yeah.
friggin' time.
Well, I'm just saying that uh people, when they only see Trump and Trump acolytes, and I'm talking about the MAGA politicians, and they don't see any pushback. They've only started to see pushback on the Epstein case, when they don't see the Democrats really forcefully pushing back. Although, look, Ro Khanna did a good job pushing the Epstein case. But here's the thing about Mamdani: he's a winner. He's the head of the largest city in the country, and he's talking this way like government could be meaningful to everyone, not just the rich, as in the past, but he really used a rhetoric that seemed to intertwine all of us. And I liked that rhetoric throughout all the speeches yesterday at the Mamdani inaugural. The Jumanji Williams, the public advocate, said, gave also a great speech
Yeah,
yesterday. And if you
it was
didn't
great
see
too.
it, you should see it on C-SPAN. Find it there. It's free. The idea that, hey, we're all together, we're holding hands. Let's not, let's not let go. I mean, that was a physical, metaphorical sign of the kind of empathy that the government stands for, the Mandami administration stands for. It was very powerful. But then he said another thing that really got me. He said, this is a moment for all people of color, which is why when I say Mamdani was like a Filipino, he knows how to speak to us. Well, how many people of color, and also he talked about, yeah, Williams talked about our trans siblings. How many people who don't feel like they belong, right? Finally,
Yeah,
yesterday, when they see someone like Mamdani, how many people felt that, oh, yeah, I belong? And Jumanji Wilson was really powerful because he said, I have to say these words for the 49-year-old, you know, guy who, back when he was a little kid growing up, he had to hear these words, but he didn't hear them because no one said it. No one said that you're enough. No one said that you were good enough. No one said that you could do this. That was powerful. That was powerful.
yeah.
When he started crying, started getting emotional, it was a perfect. It didn't upstage Mom Donnie, because Mom Donnie's like coming out of nowhere too, and he's emerging. So I just thought it was a great moment in terms of right now. This is when rhetoric is at its highest, right? At the beginning, right? And when the rhetoric is high, hopes
Well,
are high.
you
But
did a comparison to Obama, and so I would mildly suggest that there can be other times later, especially
mm,
when we see what kind of resistance is posed against Mr. Mamdani and his administration,
mm,
anywhere in his administration,
right,
and then see how he handles it, and see how the people that he's brought into his cabinet also handle those points of conflict. That can be opportunity as well, okay, for
yeah,
even greater rhetoric, because now we have to see the stuff implemented, right?
right,
How practical in real terms, even if they don't realize everything that they want within the first 100 days, okay,
mm,
how well have they mounted actual processes, right,
yeah.
that are likely to achieve some measure of those goals, okay.
Well, look, I know it's not going to be easy, and I don't want to say this was an Obama moment because they both have the same kind of policies, because they're not. They're different. I mean, Mamdani was great to say, he used the audacity word. I'm gonna lead up with audaciousness, and he said, uh, what else did he say? He said, and he was going to care for people. I know. I just and he was essentially that they were going to govern with everyone in mind. That was so refreshing compared to the way we are so divided and ununified. And I saw Mamdani as unifying us. Now, my comparison to Obama is that not necessarily by policy, but just in that spirit that he was talking to us.
Yeah.
Because Obama, we could look back at the record, some good, some bad. Hey, we're fighting for his health care plan now. The health care plan was good, but I think when we look at both of them, maybe Zohran Mamdani is a little more progressive in some respects, a lot of respects. Maybe Obama was a lot more conservative in other areas that we didn't anticipate. But I think that it was an Obama moment because with what we have, here's a breakthrough. And I just remember when Obama won, everyone was just like, ah, had that moment where they were feeling relieved that here's a new direction, here's a new path, we're going in a new way, or we can, and New York is going to be the example. New York is going to be the example if it can happen nationwide. So I was
The
encouraged.
reason that each of them, Obama and Mamdani,
Mm,
spoke in the way that they did, okay, was because there was a need for real change. There was,
yeah,
and they spoke in a way that inspired hope.
yeah,
So under the Obama administration, hope and change became the call words. And now during the 2020 and 2024 election campaigns, those were the joke words taken up by the right
right.
against not only Obama, but against Democrats, liberals, progressives, and independents, right, who did not toe the line with Trump's continuing assertion that the 2020 election was stolen from him. That's where the resistance is. Those are the people that you got to really worry about, because they have an outsized influence on the direction of national politics, and they
Mm,
they have that influence because of the red state phenomenon. Okay, it's as simple as that. All of the measures that the Republicans have taken on a national level and on a statewide level, right? Most of them can be considered illegal under both state and federal constitutions. And we have seen judges make those kinds of decisions at the district level. Always said, okay, even before the last election, I have always said, even if you get district level federal judges making those kinds of decisions, they're always subject to appeal. That's number one.
yeah,
Okay, and the conspiracies of appointments that have been made over the last 60 years. 60
yeah.
years, the right has been doing this, okay, making appointments. Look at when Nixon made the appointment of Rehnquist, he was the youngest justice, okay, in history to be appointed to that position, okay. Well, my first day in law school, right, at the former Hastings, there was a special speaker, and
No,
they had everybody assemble. Okay,
yeah.
so we got to get in our dining area. This is just a cafeteria, but it's a big one. And then there's a loft area, a mezzanine loft. I was sitting in the mezzanine loft, and out comes none other than the newly appointed Justice Rehnquist. Okay.
Hmm.
And what he said was, you guys are now the newest, youngest members of a special elite group. Okay. You represent less than 0.5% of all college graduates and all people who are heading for one of the most noble professions of humankind, right? That kind of rah rah speech, right?
Mhm.
But I was sitting with a bunch of people who were saying, uh huh, because he was a Nixon appointee, man.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of the people that I went to school with were realists, right? That's why I didn't go to Bloat Hall. That's what I call Bloat Hall over
Both,
at
yeah,
Drexel,
both. All right,
because
all right, but
they were into theory and happy dance.
all
We were
right, but
into real times.
all right. So the reality of Mamdani, it's going to be harder, but you got to admit that there is that hope. There's that that high
Yes,
level of
yes,
rhetoric that's good because it said that there is an alternative, and that what I liked about Mamdani is that he was talking more about solidarity and unity, and you never hear that mentioned by the MAGA types. You never hear
yes.
anyone.
Why would you
ta-
expect them to do that? Why would you
well,
expect them?
yeah, well, yeah. I would think that if you want a democracy that works, you've got the rich and the poor
Well,
working
you just
together.
did it. You just said it, Emil. They
Yeah,
don't want a democracy that works.
yeah,
They want institutions that work for them. They
yeah,
don't care about democracy. Okay.
yeah.
When remember when Obama was running and you got and then afterwards the formation of the Tea Party and all these
Hmm.
people showed up with $150,000, $250,000 Winnebagos,
Yeah,
and people were saying that this is representative of the middle class. What the hell? What kind of brain do you have? When people can afford those things as mobile vehicles, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And then they come out and they say, we're for the Constitution. And they can't even tell you which amendment is their favorite, right? And
yeah,
I always believed it was the Second Amendment,
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, so and there they were. And they were, what did they do? They put out posters of the new president of the United States lynched. They put
Yeah.
out the most racist, you know, invective that you could possibly imagine. And
Hmm.
when Obama was elected, one of the first things I said in class is I want to know how many calls come into the Secret Service that are clearly motivated by racist threats of murder.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know.
Look, I that's one of the fears. I mean, how is it? What kind of threat is there to, a Mamdani type character? It's got to be. There's people out there shaking their heads and they're saying no. That the first Muslim president as a
Yep,
potential in the
yep,
United States. But I have to say that that's one of the things that I thought. I thought, wow, this guy is he's like speaking of a new welcoming 21st century America, which is diverse, which, that's everything that it's diverse, it's immigrant, it's
whoops,
American,
you
and that's
froze.
everything that Meg is
Yeah.
against. So he really, if nothing else, watch the tapes of the speeches yesterday at the inauguration at the New York City Hall, and you got to say Zohran Mamdani is the leading anti-Trump figure in America today.
Yeah, I there's no disagreement with that.
Yeah,
Okay, that's absolutely who he is. Okay, what I would like to see is I would like to see Obama now come out and start saying more things that are supportive of whatever Mandani does, and also directive towards the Democratic Party on what they need to do. Now, people are having these idiotic arguments, like, should we just produce a lot more candidates throughout the country that follow the Mamdani model?
mhm,
Are you crazy? He was successful in New York. Okay,
yeah,
New York is as metro as you can possibly imagine. Right? It is metropolitan beyond simple imagination, and that's one
right,
of the reasons that the rest of the country hates New York. Right?
right. All right. So
That's one
what?
of the
What?
reasons that the rest of the country hates LA. That's one of the
Right,
reasons the rest of
San
the country hates
Francisco.
San Francisco.
Right, all right. So what are you saying? You're saying don't the Mamdani approach won't work or don't replicate
No,
it?
I'm saying you have to look at the circumstances that favored his being elected in New
Mhm.
York. Those are local
Right,
circumstances. You have
right.
to consider the population, the fact that he was talking about our diversity. I hate the word, but the
Well, it is.
obvious mixture of all kinds of people, right,
Mhm.
and all kinds of cultures, and that we are beyond tolerant of each other, right,
Right.
and so you have to look at that circumstance, understand that he could be successful in that environment. Okay,
Well,
you also have to look at the circumstances in North Carolina,
yeah. Well,
in
yeah. I'm
Virginia, right?
you wouldn't use the same strategy that you would in San Francisco in Charlotte necessarily. Although Charlotte is more purpley blue than people think.
Yeah, but
You
it's a
know,
dot. It's a dot in a sea of red.
right. Well, this is the problem with trying to bring together the country. But the Zoran Mamdani approach, it may only work in a place like New York, like those diverse urban areas, like you mentioned, L.A., San Francisco, Chicago. But
Well,
that's
the key to his success, right? If there's any
mm, mm,
core concept, right? It's
mm,
affordability, and the
yeah,
Democrats have taken that up. All right. But they
Yeah.
have to make good on that. They have to look at their local circumstances and understand how they actually can make life more affordable.
Well, I'll tell you something. This idea of free income, which was put out there by,
In Stockton.
yeah, in Stockton and also other places in the Central Valley, they've done some studies. What happens if we give people not $1,000? I think it was $1,000 in
In
Stockton.
Stockton.
In Fresno, it was 500. And
Right.
what they realized in Fresno, it was a help. It was a help to
It
people
it actually
who
worked.
yeah, who needed help with gas and groceries and childcare
It actually
and
worked.
to pay
And they
their
weren't
yeah,
they weren't they weren't trading their credits, for dope. They
right.
weren't
Well,
yeah.
that's the fear. The fear,
Yeah.
the fear is you're trading it for dope or you're trading it for alcohol and cigarettes and that kind of thing. That's the fear, but or that
Yeah,
people
yeah,
would take the money.
all of this stuff that the right resisted regulation of, all of the things that's so they're going to say they're going to spend their money, man. But those are the same guys who are criticizing that possibility, right? Those are the
Right.
same guys that resisted regulation of those products.
Well, well, this is also the thing that people who get this 500 or $1,000 a month from the government. Everyone says, "Oh, it's welfare state," but no, these people kept their jobs. They did
Yep,
a study in
yep,
Fresno. They didn't leave their jobs. They kept their jobs. They used this as a supplement. It helped them, and that's the kind of thing that on other levels that Mamdani's trying to do with the public grocery stores and the free transit. I think transit should be. There should be something. I don't know. There's some things that he's got to go to the legislature in the state to try to figure out if that's a possibility. But
yeah. And Hochul's first reaction several months ago was, "We're not going to support
yeah,
any new taxes."
yeah. Well, I mean, and that was the other thing about the speech of Mamdani yesterday. All he said is that we got to make sure that we got to make sure that the rich pay
And
their
corporation.
share of tax and
That's right. Their
corporations,
fair share
and of
taxes.
course that got the
Sure.
biggest applause, and people started the chant, tax the rich. I mean, you could pick it up on
Yeah,
the
and there
C-SPAN.
was a person who was competing against Schwarzenegger, right?
Mm. Oh yeah.
When Mr. Davis was ousted
Hmm.
via statewide vote, and phrase, his campaign phrase was "tax the rich." I was
That's
there. I was in Sacramento. I attended
who.
that
Wait. Who is
that
that?
rally.
Who was the guy? That.
The Greek whose name everyone forgets.
Oh wow. I I did. What, all right, I forgot his name. What
I
was his
did
name?
too.
Ah, I
Okay.
I covered that part of that campaign, but he was a Republican.
No, he wasn't.
He was a Democrat.
Yes, he
Oh yeah, Phil Angelides.
Angelidis. That's right.
Oh, how could I forgotten Phil Angelides?
Good guy.
Yeah.
But compared to Schwarzenegger, who has this very masculinist, traditional masculinist presence, and movie star, the whole routine, right?
Yeah,
Angelidis was
but
not
this is the
was not a
thing.
strong competitor.
If Angelides was a handsome Greek god with that view, that might have sold. I mean, because that's
Yeah,
the
he
other
was
part.
Apollo incarnate, right?
Yeah, well, the other part of politics isn't just the policy; it's that you just mentioned it. Do you have the charismatic qualities that will sell an idea? And that's one of the things about Mondani that's pretty interesting. He's just 34, right? He could
Yep.
be our kids, right? Or our kid. And the thing about Mamdani, he's sharp. He's not inexperienced. He served as a legislator. This is an interesting journey for him, and he's starting high, which means after New York City, who knows where he can end up. I think if he's successful here, this is a national model. And he said in his speech, he said, "Look, we're getting this." What was his phrase? He says, "We're setting an example for the world." We're going to show the world what can do. We will set an example for the
And that's
world.
true. And that's true. The world's watching.
Yeah, let us prove that when a city belongs to the people, there is no need too small to be met. And that's the thing about Mamdani, the energy he has now. He's got so much energy and everything, people are looking at him. I hope the first thing that happens is a big win for him soon, because that's gonna determine, the tone and what, if there is how strong the resistance to him is, right? If he has a couple big or small but important wins, that might be enough to get him through and to make people understand that he's not just flavor of the month. He's approaching this in a way that makes sense to the voters. And then, just like when Harry met Sally, people are going to say, I want what he's having. I
Mhm.
want what he's having. And
Well,
uh,
actually, it was yeah. She said, "I
yeah,
want
she
what
said,
she's having."
right. Well, I knew I was switching genders on us here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
it was a
Yeah,
woman
man.
looking at Meg
You got to take
Ryan
care.
doing her
You got to take
thing.
care. Be cautious about your he himness.
Hey, but look, in the we're in the realm of anti-grammar. If you can they them, and
Mm.
it's grammar is all screwed up. But the feeling for people and the empathy and the solidarity is real. The grammar
Uh,
may not be.
yeah,
So
that's
anyway,
the comparisons with Obama are strong. I mean, but his situation is actually more real
hmm,
about hope and change than Obama's, because it's local, and
right,
so we got to see some of the things that he's. I don't know. I think it is possible to do things like support childcare costs and all that.
mhm,
I
yeah,
think the hardest one to do is going to be the free buses,
the free.
and second hardest is going to be the how how you going to replace, are you going to replace bodegas? Hello, I lost you.
Pros.
I
We
lost you.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
froze our connection. But I
Is he going to
think,
replace? Is he going to replace bodegas? You know how New York is.
yeah, I don't think he's going to replace bodegas, but maybe he uses the bodegas as a distribution point. That maybe each bodega has a little section that is, this is public food and this is under public prices, and so people can participate. So you don't have one public store that's like this is the warehouse that's for the people. But maybe there's a way that private excuse me, private concerns can participate by selling this stock here is subsidized. you know it's the bad bananas, it's the bad potato. no, no, it's got to be the good potatoes, it's got to be the good banana. It's the generic. Remember they had the old generic canned foods, it's soup that said you know um yeah, the age of generics. I don't know, but
I think it could also be geographic.
mm.
You could do it in places that are clearly grocery deserts, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, there are a lot of those. There are a lot of those. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
How about this? What if they just said, okay, trying to do all these specific things were hard, but maybe we really want to just give people $1,000.
It's
You know,
possible. I mean,
and they'll they'll
he
go to
has
the
to be.
guaranteed income.
I don't want to say that you should use a scattergun, a shotgun method, but I
Yeah.
think he's going to have to come up with a variety of alternative plans and
Mhm.
see how it shakes down.
Yeah.
Uh, the most important thing is that you got to start right away. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah. He's got to build, right. I mean, but you compare Mamdani with Eric Adams, and even with Bill De
oh my
Blasio, and if
Adams,
you're in,
it's here. Adams got booed
yeah,
very,
i- i-
very firmly.
yeah, if you're a New Yorker, you got to be happy that, oh, you got a guy, he's got fresh ideas, and he might help, and so
Yeah,
I,
well,
I
okay.
was just excited because it
Well,
was.
I think it's good to be excited. I'm excited too, just not as excited as you. I mean,
Well, it's just it's a 21st century kind of thing, like instead of having a man like Trump who's going backwards to the 19th century, right, with his views, and going back to 1924 with his immigration views, and going back to the 30s. It's good to have someone who's looking forward and saying, this is the 21st century America. We're diverse, we're immigrant. This is the new America. I've been talking about the new America since 1989, thinking that this is going to be a real, it's going to be great for democracy someday. Back in 1989, I said this. It's going to be great for democracy one day. And here we are, 2026, and we don't know how to deal with it. America doesn't know how to deal with the richness and diversity. America does, gets the pushback. And that's something that in 1989, naively, I did not expect we would get this kind of pushback.
Okay, since you picked 1989, which
Well,
was
that's usually the time.
which
That was
was
the
the third term for Reaganism, right?
yeah,
Because it was Mr. Bush
right.
one. All
Right.
right.
Wait. But I picked 89 for a reason. It was the first year that Time Magazine and all the big news organizations picked up on the census demographic trend that that the minorities would be the majority by the year 2030. That was the big headline.
And yeah, and do you remember that even before 89, in 87, 88, the Republicans in Congress were already trying to figure out how to limit how people would be counted? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yes,
Okay,
I do.
they wanted to aggregate Asians.
Mhm.
Okay, the black community worked right into that by saying they didn't want people listing mixed race status.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
so they were in essence helping the right. Okay, to reduce the count of people of color and people of mixed race. Okay,
Mhm.
major resistance.
Yeah.
Okay, in the and all throughout the 80s, they were doing things like shutting down NARA, right? The National Archives offices all over the country. They tried to shut down the NARA office down here in San Bruno that has been vital for the construction of our histories of
Yeah.
all people of color, right?
Yeah.
Particularly Asians and especially Filipinos, right? I use that facility all the time. And
Yeah.
they tried to shut it down. I was part of the resistance to that. And all of the colleges and universities in the Bay Area were part of the resistance to that. Okay. But that's
Yeah.
what they tried to do. I'm just telling you, you had hope. You had hope. They had hatred and desperation.
Yeah, and it's
And, oh,
no
fear.
wonder. Yeah, it's no wonder that that we're going to see MAGA evolve, and we're already seeing it evolve more in terms of really being the uh, you know trying to reverse this trend or trying to make sure it never happens. And that's the great thing about seeing Mamdani. He's like the embodiment of, hey, at least I'm an immigrant. I can't be president. I mean, by law, he can't be president, but he can lead us as
He can
far
be in
as
Congress,
yeah,
and yeah, I think he can be a senator. Yeah,
yeah. He just can't be president. So
yeah.
in that way, he's not the perfect he's not the perfect Obama or nor the perfect anti-Trump, but he does stand up for a people's democracy that we just haven't had a sense of in a long time, not with Trump at the helm.
Yeah, there's going to be hyper resistance. The people, the desperation that they demonstrated, beginning, well, I would go all the way back to the late 70s, even
Mhm.
during the Carter administration. Okay, and then especially in the 90s, California, the California experimentation with propositions,
Mhm.
right, that were very clearly anti-immigrant,
Oh
and
yeah, in
not only
'87, yeah,
anti-affirmative action, just anti, anybody who was not Anglo,
right,
and that was happening in good old liberal California, and it was being supported in some of the lower courts, right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited about Mamdani now because he hasn't done anything yet. the rhetoric is supposed to be soaring because it's the rhetoric, it reaches that high level and then will
Well,
crash down to reality.
that's the other comparison that is very apt with Mr. Obama. They're
Yeah,
both great orators.
yeah,
They can talk, and both of them are quick on their feet, man.
oh
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love his live interviews. I mean, he's really good.
Yeah, Mamdani's good. Now, I liked Mamdani, and in my column in Inquirer.net, I also mentioned my 6 degrees of separation is down to 1 degree because
Because of
I
his
know
mom.
Mamdani's mommy.
Yeah.
I know Mamdani's mommy, and here's the thing: people might will know Mira Nair. She's the Indian American film director. She directed Denzel Washington, so she's no she's a decent director. She's a good director. But I knew her in college when we were both studying film, and also we were in a drama class together and appeared on the main stage in school. She We were in a radical Latin American version of Antigone, and she and she played the queen. She didn't
um,
play Antigone; she played the queen,
uh-huh.
and I played a reporter, sort of like the chorus member going out telling the audience what had
Right,
happened.
right, right, right.
And so she was kind of, and so I was watching the TV, coverage yesterday of the inaugural, and just looking to see how Mira would show up. I mean, she's a diva. She was a diva in college, but she held court. She was proud mama, and I'm happy for her and proud to call her. Um,
Did you drop her a line? Did you drop her a
I
line?
haven't dropped her a line because I don't know. I guess I can call City Hall. I could drop it at City Hall in New York. I just know that I when she was beaming with pride about her son, I sort of felt a certain connection, because I really felt strongly that whatever Mom Donnie does is something that can spread throughout our democracy, throughout our
Right on.
country, and so and very hopeful, very hopeful, and great to see him. Now, I like Bernie Sanders' speech, AOC speech, okay, but I really like the poet, because I'm the poet laureate in my small little San Joaquin County town. Did you catch the poet, Cornelius Eady?
Yeah, he was really good. It was just an excellent job.
He was, and so I'm going to read the poem because after the poem, you don't really you didn't really need to hear the speeches. It was enough, you sort of got it, I think. I mean, the speeches were more rhetorical, no real specifics, but I think for the feeling, right? Cornelius Eady captured it. So I'm going to read this. It was called Proof. You have to imagine it. Who said you were too dark, too large, too queer, too loud? Who said you were too poor, too strange, too fat? You have to imagine it. Who said you must keep quiet? Who heard your story then rolled their eyes? Who tried to change your name to invisible? You've got to imagine. Who heard your name and refused to pronounce it? Who checked their watch and said, not now? Boy, when he read it, I just, man, me. Yeah, it was me, right? I mean, you had to hear that poem and said, me, me. And I thought that opening was so great. Who heard your name and refused to pronounce it? I would say to so many people, the name is Guillermo, the Filipino way, not Guillermo, the Spanish way or Mexican way. Guillermo, the double L's from the Philippines. When he said, "Who heard your name and refused to pronounce it? Who checked their watch and said, not now?"
Can I do an
I
aside? Can I do an aside story?
Yeah, yeah,
First year, law school,
yeah,
torts class.
yeah.
Old guy, one of the two great authors of the early torts books. Uh, Prosser was one,
Hmm.
and the other guy was my guy. Okay,
Yeah.
and really old. You know, he's in his 70s. Uh,
70s. Oh, that's not that old.
Well, not for me, but I was in my 20s at the time. So and
Yeah.
he would mispronounce even European names, like Italian names.
Mm.
He got to my name, he called on me, and he pronounced my name Gonzalez.
Oh, oh, now you know.
Yeah. This is one of the most common names. It is, if
Yeah,
it's not like Smith, it's like Jones, right? In
yeah,
terms of commonality in Spanish speaking in former Spanish colonies, and he said Gonzalez, and everybody, you could feel the room freeze up, because even then, that
yeah,
early, maybe a couple of months into first year, I already had a reputation for saying things under my breath that were usually very cutting and funny.
yeah.
So when when this guy mispronounced my name, they figured, is he gonna let go or what? Am I gonna shotgun the guy? And all I did was I said, yeah, Professor, it's Gonzalez, right? It's Gonzalez. But yeah, that's that's
That
how it
I
was.
mean, so I just know that if anyone heard that opening part of the speech, you
Oh man, it
probably,
was. I identified with it. I thought that
yeah,
this
of
was really
course, of
good.
course. All right, so now the next part of the speech, or the next part of the poem of Cornelius Eady. James Baldwin wrote, "The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it." Wow. The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make. That's proactive, right?
Yeah,
You got to make it,
yeah.
right? And that's powerful. Is it New York City, or New York City of invention, broiling town, refresher and renewer, New York City of the real, where the canyons whisper in 100 tongues, New York, where your lucky self waits for your arrival, where there is always soil for your root. Man, that was such an image. Your lucky self waiting for your arrival, where there's always soil for your root. You're never dry and dead. There's soil there for your root. You can plant. This is our time, the taste of us, the spice of us, the hollers and the rhythms and the beats of us, and the echo of our ancestors who made certain we know who we are. I mean, that's the powerful legacy of, a kind of pride that you develop in your communities. You know who you are. City of consistence, city of resistance. You have to imagine an army that wins without firing a bullet. My God, that's what we are, right? I mean, Second Amendment be damned. We're the army that wins without firing a bullet. Nonviolence, peaceful, right?
One of our friends. Yeah, no, it was a great poem. It
Yeah.
was it was one of the best things I've heard. But see, one of the reasons we think it's so great is because we identify with it so closely.
Oh yeah. Well,
You know,
all the language. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, an army that wins without firing a bullet, meaning there's a revolution. There's a revolution at stake, and we don't need bullets to win. You
well,
know.
yeah, we don't. I mean, it's possible. It's possible to do that. It was done in the Philippines.
Yeah.
it,
Well,
it
I mean,
was a
it's
very hopeful time, and I mean, I got a lot of phone calls. I remember our conversation about that between
yeah.
you and I told you I got a lot of phone calls from my Latino friends, and they're saying, you call that a revolution?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I mean, just Edie's line there. You have to imagine an army that wins without firing a bullet. The imagination, the power of the imagination. All right, more poem. A joy that wears down the rock of no. Man, that is. You have to imagine an army that wins without firing a bullet. A joy that wears down the rock of no. How many rocks of no have we encountered in our lives, right? In
Well,
everything we do. The rock of no.
yeah,
I mean, I just think that's powerful.
personally and collectively. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. See, we have a mutual journalist friend, and
Yeah.
I was really surprised because he ran into another friend of ours who actually became a judge.
Mhm.
There are not too many of those,
Yeah.
but he became a judge, and evidently this former journalist, retired now, ran into the judge at an event that was celebrating some of the radicals, the people who fought for social change way back in the 60s and 70s, right? And he was surprised. The journalist was surprised at the fact that this former judge, well, retired judge, had been a former radical. And he told me this. The journalist told me this at a subsequent event. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know that this event happened. And I thought that was kind of strange because I usually get invited to these things myself.
Yeah.
And so I didn't tell the journalist about my own record because obviously, if he didn't know that the former judge had that background, right, then he wouldn't know anything about my background.
Yeah.
And that we came from exactly the same environment. And it is that environment that resulted in the formation and the establishment, implementation of the first, and at the time, the only school of ethnic studies in the country, right? It was that activity known as the San Francisco State Strike, and that people still say, they still call it the San Francisco State Riots, okay? And they completely overlooked the fact that there were all kinds of positive achievements that came out of the settlement of that strike. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're talking about continuing institutions. That institution is still alive today. And luckily, because there's a third generation of faculty who are committed to the values and principles that we had when we started that institution. And that's what his poem reminded me of.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that line, you have to imagine an army that wins without firing a bullet, a joy that wears down the rock of no, that rock of no. That's a great image. Up from insults, up from blocked doors, up from trick bag, up from fear, up from shame, up from the way it was done before. You have to imagine that space they said wasn't yours, that time they said you never own, the invisible city lit on its way. This moment is our proof.
Yep.
So that's why we had to experience it. That's why well, I wasn't there, but if you were there by screen watching it on YouTube or watching it on C-SPAN, my God, that I wasn't planning on doing it. I thought, oh, I'll catch the highlights on the news, but I'm so glad I caught Cornelius Eady's poem and that I saw the other speeches and that I saw Zoran Mamdani, because I really think, I know he can't be president, so it's an imperfect metaphor to say it was an Obama moment, but it was a breakthrough to hear someone talk like Mamdani, considering the split screen yesterday of Trump talking about his health, saying, "Oh, it was a CRT, or it was a CAT scan, not an MRI. Oh, I'm taking blood thinners because I don't want thick blood going to my heart. I want thin blood. I want the thin blood." That
Yeah,
was
so he could
Trump.
bleed out.
Yeah, that was Trump. Yeah. So
Yeah, he
he's
could
like a
he could
Dr.
bleed out.
Trump.
He could bleed out intestinally. I mean, that's one of the problems. But then it shows up right away. If he has a intestinal uh, uh, problem, with blood going into his colon and all that, it shows
Yeah.
up right away, obviously. But
Yeah.
you can't put makeup on the result. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the
You can't
thing.
put
The
a
thing
band-aid over it
got to cover the thin skin. Got to cover the thin skin.
in all so
So
many ways. More than a metaphor. More than
yeah.
a metaphor.
So Dan, all right, I'm excited about Mamdani. I hope 2026 is good to Mamdani. What other 2026 kind of things do you want to say on this first show of 2026? That made me feel positive, but then I know that what millions of people had their health premiums go up if they were on Obamacare. So affordability is a real thing. Um, and I don't know how Congress is going to deal with that, deal with the trying to bring back the subsidies to make things affordable for people. But what's 2026 going to be like, you think?
I think unfortunately a lot of people are going to suffer,
Yeah.
and there will be, see, a lot of the Republicans have already learned, probably a majority of them, that they have to do something about in real terms about healthcare and about the cost of things.
Yeah.
They have, and it is possible to do great things at the
Yeah.
federal level at minimal cost. But
Mhm.
once again, there has to be a fair apportionment of taxation, and the
Mhm.
burden has to be lifted. You know, the working and middle class have to be, as you are, excited about the possibilities of government once again. The problem is that there are so many people on both sides, on all sides of
Mhm.
political parties, right, including independents, even though it's not a party in and of itself,
Mhm.
right? Is that all capitalism is good capitalism, and that's really the problem. We've come to the stage where there's people are worshiping at the sacred cow of capitalism as though all forms of it are good. And look
Yeah.
where it's gotten us. You know, we've got a high concentration of billionaires in this society, you know, while the middle class, the middle class that we understood of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s,
Mhm.
where people of color just barely have entered into a period of history where we're actually members of the middle
Yeah.
class, right? It has
Yeah.
now been deposed, right? So that it is much more associated with the working class than with the middle class that we understood even 20 years ago, 25, 30 years
Right.
ago.
Yeah. We have different sort of we redefined the strata. Uh, so where I don't know.
People are going to be hurting, and the only thing you can hope for is that the Republicans will defy Trump, you know, because the guy's in there for another 3 years, man.
Yeah.
That they will defy Trump, and that they will do part of bipartisan work with the Democrats. What I'm interested in is understanding where that potentially middle ground is, right? Uh,
Yeah. I mean, what are the issues that are going to bring them to the middle, and where is that area for compromise? I and
taxation,
yeah,
housing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, not only
Healthcare.
medical, not only medical insurance, but medical services.
Yeah.
Okay, and a rebuilding of infrastructure.
Oh, sounds like your basic Democrat plan.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
that's a
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that as a partisan Democrat because I'm no
yeah.
longer a Democrat. I'm an independent.
I
Okay.
know, and it's the independents that's giving Trump problems because it's something like 40 some percent of the independents are give him negative um, negative numbers, and that's not going to play for Republicans who want to win. It's not going to play for the next whoever the next MAGA figurehead is.
Yeah, at the
To
national level, you're
Yeah,
right. At the national level, the likelihood is it's the independent vote that is going to determine who the next president of the United States is.
yeah, and so I'm just I don't know. I don't know what happens to MAGA. I don't know. Maybe this is the year with the midterms, right? With the midterm elections, that MAGA has a come to Jesus moment about what they are and who Trump is, because Trump will
That
be
ain't going to happen, dude.
well, Trump is going to be 80 in June. He's going to be more lame duck than he ever was,
Well,
and
what would that mean? Okay, what do you mean when you say MAGA could have a come to
I
Jesus
come to
moment?
well, maybe we'll see more people speaking out. We'll see more people being Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll see, and then
Then they're not MAGA anymore.
right, right, they're not MAGA anymore. They're something else, and I think MAGA crumbles, and who knows what replaces it. Um, I'm looking at the roster of people and the strong people who you know remember when the Republicans had all their speaker battles, those strong Republicans. I don't know where they are now. You hardly hear about them.
Well, you know what they're doing? They're trying to reconstitute the Republican Party.
Yeah.
There is a formation going on quietly,
Mm.
okay, of people who are preparing for the outcome of the November election this year because
Yeah.
they believe that the Democrats are going to take the House. And
So
so
yeah.
what they're going to try to do is save the Senate for themselves as best possible because that'll be the only other checking mechanism. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what they're going to try to do. So what the Democrats need, what the country needs,
Mm.
regardless of Democratic Party, because I'm done with the Democratic Party leadership.
Right.
It's
Right.
going to take
Right.
at least two changes, right?
Mm.
At the of presidential election periods, right? It's going to take at least two changes for a younger generation of people to infuse the Democratic Party with the necessary understanding of social conditions, belief in also methods of
Yeah.
addressing real social and economic conditions. You know,
But
that's
this
what
is
it's
the
going to
thing
take.
about Mamdani though, because I think he's inspired a lot of younger people
Yes,
to say,
absolutely.
"Yeah, me too," and I'll help you older people. I'll step up. I'm
there
34.
there
I'm
there are
35.
there's a half Filipino, half black congressman, in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's got a partner, African American partner. They're both very young. We've got people within the Democratic Party formerly in the leadership that are survivors of school shootings
Mm.
that have run successfully for office, right? And in some instances, as in Tennessee, their voices crying in the wilderness, but they are loud and proficient, okay,
Yeah,
and articulate voices crying in the wilderness. There will be more. I am
yeah,
very encouraged
yeah.
by many of the people in the younger generations.
So I yeah, and as am I, and I'm really looking forward to that in 2026. Okay, now we're gonna end it up light. We went to a comedy show
Yes, we did.
on one of the last acts of night of 2025. We saw Greg Proops at the Punchline in San Francisco. We paid for our own tickets, so we paid for our tickets. Saw Greg Proops, very funny guy. Uh, Started off in the 80s in San Francisco. He's on Who's Line, he's on that improv show. He's made it, but he's still, he doesn't sell arenas. He sells like 5 nights at the Punchline, and he was funny. Greg Proops, and then we had Jackie Cation, who is an acquaintance of mine. Love Jackie. She was very funny. And then we had Dara. I forget her name, but it's in the Indian comic. Um, Dara Lakshar. Sorry, I apologize. I should know it, but what do you think? And it was a good show. If you get want to go see a show in San Francisco, Greg Proops, Jackie Cation, Punchline. This is Saturday night. Friday night they have a show. Saturday night they have a show. I think it's two shows each night, and they're doing a recording. So we probably saw the outtakes, Dan. We probably we probably aren't going to be on the final cut. But although I was laughing much more than I thought I would be, I thought I
Yeah, there was stuff. Yeah, it was good. I mean, each of them had their strong points, and they all took different angles. I mean, they followed their traditional direction, right?
right.
And the Indian woman Dara did
Daya, I think.
it was
Yeah,
she was the single woman, right,
yeah,
looking for love,
yeah.
which is a universal element, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah,
she added to it the spicing of the South Asian Indian woman experience, and
right.
so that had an ethnic coloration, which was
Mhm.
very, very welcome.
Right.
Uh,
And funny. She's funny. She's
yep,
funny. She
yep.
was she was the MC and the host. And then Jackie Cation is uh she's
Aging into marital less than bliss.
no, I think it's bliss. I think she has bliss, but she has
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
with life.
I thought that was some of her funniest stuff.
Yeah.
It's,
She's very
it's
funny.
Well, oh yeah, she was really good. I mean, each of them had things. The important consideration is that great humor is very much more laughable when you understand it from your own personal experience. There has to be that there has to be that connection, right?
Now, and then, all right,
And
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 then,
we had you got to face it. It was an aging crowd, man.
yeah, yeah, I would
You
say
know,
that crowd was like 45 plus easily, or 50 plus,
oh, I'm saying 30,
55.
40% was probably 60 plus.
Yeah, well, that's true. It was well, Proops has been around since the 80s, and he's himself is like 62 or 63. Very funny. He's topical. He makes no bones about his left perspective. He was funny, but I don't know. Is it do we g- was it it's funny to hear the satire, but I know he wants bigger laughs. But I was listening to some comedians talk the other day, and they said, just pointing out hypocrisies aren't enough. People
That's right.
don't people don't want that. You have to do more than point out hypocrisies, and maybe make it what silly, make it exaggerated in a way. I don't know. This is one thing that
See the problem for not just proofs, but the problem for comics that take that kind of angle, that have political angle, is the problem is SNL,
yeah,
because that's so readily available, and they sometimes they go overboard in a kind of weird direction, and it loses its social commentary strength, right?
yeah.
But usually their openings are really strong,
And
and
that's the only place where it is. I mean, it's
yeah,
not
that's
throughout
right,
the show. It's
that's
just in
right,
that cold open. Yeah.
yeah, that's right,
But
that's right.
but I mean, and also they got a good Trump impersonator. So if you got one of those,
He's great.
you're halfway there. Uh, but my question to you is there anything that after we saw it that stuck in terms of the joke, or is just the general feeling that, oh, that person was funny, or that person made me feel good?
No, I already said it.
Yeah.
That each of them had a direction, and
Mhm.
I really liked all three of them.
Yeah.
I thought I thought so. The single girl looking for love, and
Yeah.
the conflict of it all, and her saying, "I want everything. I want all of. I signed up for all of them." Right?
All
That,
the
that's
dating sites,
I was going to
dating
say
apps.
to you on the side, I was going to say that's damn dangerous, man. I mean, that's really bad. You know, what was it? What was the name of that flick? Oh, Mister Looking for Mister Goodbar. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Oh
that's the
God,
'80s, man. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. But I
that's
mean,
Deborah
the
Winger, I think.
tragedy of that, is
Yeah,
what always comes to mind for me, right? I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I remember just before the ending of the film, a bunch of people got up and walked out, and I was
yeah,
wondering, I wonder why they're leaving. And when you experience the end of that film, you understood why they were
yeah,
leaving, right? Then,
yeah. Well, God, that's very '80s where people meet in bars. I guess they still do somewhat. I mean,
well,
young people.
yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, that they're looking for Mister Goodbar by putting themselves on a friggin' internet hookup
Oh
system, right?
yeah,
That's really
yeah,
crazy, man. That's some crazy stuff. You
yeah.
better off meeting in the bar, you know.
All
You
right,
know,
because then you can look eye to eye.
you can
Yeah,
actually see them, right? You have to
yeah.
test them out and make sure it's not Mission Impossible makeup, right?
I,
So
I can't be catfished. I can't be catfished here.
yeah,
So and Proops was funny.
yeah. He was more like you put it. He was critical of hypocrisy, and it was funny, but it didn't make it. It wasn't even strong. It was sarcastic, right?
Yeah,
Which is one of my favorite ways of
getting humor. I mean,
yeah.
you laugh, and it's enjoyable. But I know that he would have liked a couple of big laughs, because there were some times when he would say a laugh and it would just kind of then it would die down. And you have to build it up again.
I remember we commented about that, right?
Yeah,
In the car.
yeah,
I said, yeah. he handled those quiet moments strangely, right? It made him feel insecure,
Yeah.
and he could have just rolled with it. I thought those were appropriate reactions.
Yeah.
I thought people were thinking, right, and letting it soak in, and that's okay. And
Yeah, I thought. Look, these are just some observations, but a great show, and I think they do two a night. They're doing two today, Friday, and Saturday. I
well,
don't
that
think.
night he said they had four more. So
Yeah,
yeah,
four more.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what he
so
said.
and I guess they'll take the best and stitch together in the audio for the
Right,
recording.
right.
So anyway, it's fun. It's fun going to the punchline. Greg Proops and Jackie Cation at the punchline.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
the seating arrangement a lot better since they changed it from the old days.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's something about you got little tables bunched together, small. It's the perfect club, really. It's really the perfect club with low ceilings, people together. Not so great if you're trying to avoid viruses and whatnot, but a good place for comedy, a
right,
good setup for
right,
comedy.
right.
All right, Dan, I guess I'm not going to talk to you before the 49ers win on Saturday, but
Tomorrow.
I guess
Yeah,
they're going to win.
I hope so.
It'd be
Seattle.
nice.
I've been researching Seattle's defense, and they're really good.
Yeah, the thing is, if the 49ers lose, they're still in the playoffs, but
Yeah,
they have to go on the road.
they have to go on the road.
This
Yeah,
is
it would
nice
be
for them.
really cool if they just stayed here. They would make a lot of money because people would go to all of the games, right?
Yeah, yeah,
They would feel that even at $600 a pop for mediocre seats, right?
yeah, yeah. All right.
I ain't
Well,
doing that. I think we both had that conversation last time. I ain't
yeah.
doing that. I'm watching it on the TV.
Well, because then I'll buy a third big screen TV with the 49er tickets.
Uh,
All right.
all
So
right, man. Thanks for
Dan,
having me.
it's a,
And again,
ha-
once again, Happy New Year.
yeah, Happy New Year to
And,
you. Really,
yeah,
it's
thanks
I
for asking
wanted
me to join you for the comedy club experience once again. The
th-
punchline.
and
Oh, we should mention Kevin.
yeah.
Kevin
Oh,
Kamia has got a show up in February.
in February, yes, that was good. So Kevin Kamiya, so go see him at the
Yeah,
Punchline.
he's headlining on
Yeah,
that one on his night, his own
y-
night.
yeah,
So
and
he
that's
always
great.
has great
I
guests.
know. I think he's doing a weekend. He's doing a weekend.
Yeah, well,
That was a
wow.
weekend. So
Yeah,
he's
we
got
better buy tickets in
Thursday, Friday,
advance.
Saturday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go see Kevin. I'll go see Kevin.
All right. Okay, let's do that.
All
Let's
right.
make
Yeah,
that
all
a
right. We'll
plan.
go see Kevin. All right.
All right.
So
All right.
so Daniel Phil, there he goes, my friend Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus. Oops, there he is. We didn't get rid of him. There he is. San Francisco State University. I always love having Dan on, and we usually have him on Friday, and we were just gonna let it ride, but there's just something about Zoran Mom. I wanted to hear from Dan. I wanted to hear Dan throw some cold water on me, and he didn't. He just sort of spritzed me. He spritzed and said, "Hey, you don't have to get that excited about him." Proof's in the point. Let's see what he does. But I'm excited for Zoran. Read my column on the Inquirer.net. That's where I'll put it. Also, I'll put it later on my Substack site. Hey, let me tell you about my show coming up, Emil Muck 69. It's a show I do. I toured it in Canada, and I did it in Fresno, did it in San Francisco about a month ago, 2 months ago. It's about me dealing with my Trump derangement syndrome. So now that we know what Trump derangement syndrome does, after, Donald Trump went on his social media and said, hey, yeah, look at these people. They hate Trump. No, we don't hate. In fact, we kind of love Trump in a way. Oh, you love Trump, Emil? Well, I'll explain. I'll explain in my show. You got to see it. Emil Muck 69. Go to playgroundsf.vbotickets.com. Playground SF, yeah, playgroundsf.vbotickets.com. And get the playground-sf.org/solofest. January 17th, 7 p.m. January 26th, 8:30 p.m. February 2nd, 8:30 p.m. February 7th, 2:30 p.m. That's a festival, right? So all different times. Up at Potrero Stage, 1695 18th Street. Potrero Stage. Why, is there a theater up there? Yeah, 1695 18th Street, San Francisco. Check it out. You know, we like to close our shows with a little loving kindness. Because it is about love. Love conquers all, right? That was something that was in that Mom Donnie speech. A sense of love for all New Yorkers. If you're a New Yorker and you're hearing that love coming from the man who is called the mayor, and he talks about rich and poor working together. I mean, David Dinkins talked about the mosaic, and I've used mosaic since the 80s. The mosaic, all of us together. It's diversity. There's no city more is Daly City more diverse than New York City? I don't know. But I just think it was exciting seeing Mamdani. And I think we can get to the idea that we care for one another, right? Now that's love. That is a sense of love. And so we end with a little loving kindness, our meditation. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Ease. Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. Emil Guillermo.